Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here in Washington, D.C., and joining us from Ottawa, Canada is Peter Scaruppe, who is the NATO Communications and Information Agency's Acquisition Chief, and he's joining us from the agency's industry conference up there in the sunny Canadian capital. Peter, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Actually, it's raining here.
I should have known. I was mistaken. The forecast was okay yesterday, but there's a little bit of the weather today. Talk to me a little bit about the acquisition priorities for the agency.
Yeah, gladly. Thank you. We are the NATO IT agency, as the name says, and we provide the NATO forces and the NATO nations, if they want to, and the NATO, all the NATO entities with the IT, C4ISR, and cyber capability that they need. In a good year, we put on contract, and a contract that go out to industry, about billion euros. And that is both investment in IT and it's also for operation and maintenance. And as I said, most of that goes to industry. We do very little in-house, so all the 28 NATO nations are interested in what we do. This is why we're having these annual conferences that we use to present the upcoming opportunities, business opportunities, over the next 18 to 24 months. So industry can orient themselves regarding the projects. Which projects do they want to bid on? They may want to partner up with other industry companies to consortia, depending on the complexity of a project or a program. And this year we have presented over the last 2 days, yesterday and today, opportunities in the excess of 3 billion euros. The heavy hitters there is SATCOM procurement, satellite communications, that we will procure over the next 2 years in the amount of more than 1 billion euros. We will have future investment in the air command and control and in the missile defense area. We are planning to join these two areas into an integrated air and missile defense program office that, contrary to the past, where most of the money that we have spent on these programs, and alone in the air command and control area, it has been 2.5 billion euros so far. The future money, as I said, close to 1 billion euros, will be competed, meaning that this will be opportunity for the industry in all NATO nations. Of course, we are aware that not all NATO nations have sizable defense industry, but the ones with smaller companies can then use the opportunity to team up with bigger ones. We will also do the cyber refresh, the refreshment of our cyber defense capabilities, defending NATO's networks and our websites, in the amount of about 70 million euros. That is interesting, of course, for industry that is active and capable in the cyber area. We do a lot of connectivity, so NATO networks. We just kicked off a program that, of course, is not competed anymore. It went to General Dynamics IT, what we call IT modernization, where we will refresh or exchange the NATO IT over the next few years in 4 waves. I should say that we do not do only office IT. We also do the operational IT, the command and control networks, and so on. So those are the main areas of investment over the next few years.
You've spent a career in acquisition in the German military, at the European Defense Agency, and now at a key NATO agency. What are some of the acquisition lessons? What are some of the techniques that your command can use? Because no command has a greater demand to move quickly, to stay ahead of a very fast emerging threat than you do. What are some of the key techniques so that you're faster than your adversaries?
Well, that's a big problem for us in NATO because we depend on our governing bodies, which are essentially the 28 NATO member nations, soon to be 29, in the approval of funding for new projects. So, and that approval process is not is not very flexible in itself, and is so the danger is inherent in the system that we procure on the basis of requirements that are outdated at the time when a contract is signed, and that are certainly outdated at the time when when the performance is delivered. So we need to be faster there. I think we need to be more flexible in the definition of requirements, not to cross the last T and dot the last I, but do it in spirals, as it is usual by now in the commercial industry. We also need to be extremely fast, much faster in the cyber defense area, because we know that, for example, big financial institutions refresh their cyber software and every 6 weeks, and we are far too slow there as well. Again, if we want to procure state-of-the-art technology, we need to do this faster.
What are one of the key elements of this conference, but one of the things you're working on is to attract smaller, innovative companies that can bring you some of this cutting-edge technology. But small companies always have a little bit of trepidation doing business with gigantic organizations, and NATO is a gigantic organization, as you said, 28 nations, soon to be 29. What are the ways that you're engaging some of these smaller, innovative companies to do business with the Alliance?
Like any government, any Ministry of Defense, we are trying to attract small, innovative companies. Those are companies that may not want to deal with a big organization like NATO because it's too much red tape, it takes too long, it's too costly for them to bid on a project where they have to keep the team at hand for too long until the procurement decision is taken. So we are running, or we have been running for the second time, our Defense Innovation Challenge, where we put out a call to industry, and we did not discriminate between large or small. For I think this year 10 different technology areas, very focused on individual problems and challenges, and asked them to submit white papers, one or two pieces of paper with solutions. It was not connected to a contract. They just got the recognition at the conference and a non-financial award. This year we received around 70 proposals again for this in a very short time, and we just awarded the 10 winners with this recognition. The big benefit for these companies, and it was not only companies, it's also academia, there were universities participating and so on, is the attention that they're getting to the bigger world. Because we, at this conference, we have all the traditional prime contractors, traditional defense suppliers, and these non-traditional defense suppliers may be interested in teaming up with the bigger ones. So last year, we did it for the first time, and 2 of the 10 winners had proposals or offers from bigger companies before they even left the conference, and I guess the same is happening this year as well. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is, again, we're bringing together small and big companies. We have a number of large companies on call who have volunteered to mentor small and medium enterprises, small businesses, in how to deal with an organization like NATO effectively, and also how to deal with a big commercial company effectively and more successfully. And the third item is that we have a small and medium enterprises strategy that has the objective to give more accessibility to our part of the defense market to smaller companies. Most of that is through information sharing and accessibility of information in general, but it's also about how a bidder can score higher in an evaluation if they include a more diverse supply chain in their bid, meaning having smaller companies in there, and also maybe smaller companies from other nations than their own, to show that they are flexible, and this would score. Then they would score higher. For that, we will have to change the NATO procurement regulations, which will depend on the approval of our member states. But no, those are the same member states who demand from us more flexibility and more share for their small and medium enterprises. So I think that is a possibility.
Let me ask you a two-part question. The first part of the question is, if I was a small company and I was asking you your opinion, how I could do business, what I should bear in mind as I do business with the Alliance, but also do business with bigger companies, what would you tell me?
You need to become known in the market, as in any market, and that's twofold again. It's get in touch with larger companies, look for NATO contracting opportunities, small and big. Now the smaller one you bid yourself on, and the bigger ones you try to team up with the bigger players. We have a contracting vehicle for the simpler contracts, for the more off-the-shelf services and procurements that we call the basic ordering agreement, and that means you are on file with us as a potential supplier or a vendor. You are certified by your nation. Your nation underwrites that you are financially and technologically capable of fulfilling a contract. And then we have you on a roster, and then we inform you when an invitation for bid goes out that is in your area. So you get this automatically. You don't have to look every day at websites or subscribe to news feeds and so on. You get this automatically, and you monitor the market in a convenient way.
And what about doing business with big companies? What advice do you have for a small guy who wants to successfully deal with a big company? Because when you talk to a lot of guys from small companies, there's almost an inherent distrust of large contractors, a sense that the large company wants to acquire their technology but isn't as particularly interested in them.
I don't know if it's that black and white, because in this, through this small and medium enterprises strategy, we have been talking to small and big companies a lot. And what we found out is that the big companies, the big prime contractors, are having the same problems that we have in finding small and innovative solutions with a smaller industry. And it's not always about the shark and the herring game, in immediately eating these small companies. They want to insert them in their supply chains as well. So I think this is an attractive situation for both entities, large and big. There are always some who are looking for takeovers and so on, but there are also small companies who are hoping for the big ticket to be able to sell their company to somebody affluent, so to speak.
I love your shark and herring analogy, and hopefully it's and 99% of the time the relationship is much more successful than that. So I don't want to give the wrong idea. If you were going to make changes to the NATO acquisition and procurement regulations, what are some of the targeted changes you think national leaders should consider in order to be able to accelerate the process?
No, the biggest project we have in this area right now is what we call agile cyber acquisition. We need, as I said before, we need to speed up the procurement of cyber capabilities. So we have contracted a study with the RAND Corporation that is now in its final phase, where they are looking into best practices in nations. We have a number of nations who have participated in that, and in industry. What needs to be done to make this faster, to procure cyber capabilities within months and not within years. We cannot treat this like an aircraft or main battle tank procurement. We know that, but we just have one set of procurement regulations. What we do have is flexibility in these regulations, and the RAND Corporation is helping us. And the study, by the way, was commissioned by the Allied Command Transformation, and they are in charge of all change in NATO. So this is the perfect entity to deal with this, and we support them because we do cyber acquisition. So that's the idea, and the study will be finished in a couple of months, and then we will have concrete proposals which are staggered according to timelines. We have immediate mitigation. We have measures that will take not too long, and we will have measures that will require a change in the paradigm. So of course not all of the measures will be equally feasible to be put into reality, but of course we'll pick the easiest and the fastest one first to show our nations and industry that we are willing to change this process.
Peter, is there anything else that I need to ask you as we finish up?
We covered all my important points in addition to the ones that the general manager had. So I think from my view, I don't have anything else to add.
Peter Scaruppe, the acquisition chief of the NATO Communications and Information Agency, joining us from Ottawa. Peter, thanks very much.